Seems TradingView has a 20-minute video length. So as I was saying, they will make you sell to them willingly as they bleed it back towards the lows. They did it with Bitcoin in 2019, very famous example. Google, similar story. Meta's outperformed. Thank God they fired all those people. They wouldn't have been able to pump the stock like this. Also, what a coincidence. They make the announcement at the very low to create max fear and max retail offloading into them. While they pump it, 200%. It's gone. Microsoft, boring. Same story though. Patterns are patterns are patterns. It's the same people. Nvidia, well, there you go. Obviously, that's why it's in the news and Super Bowl because they're trying to distribute on you because they've already done the markup from 110 to 280 right into the breakdown liquidity every single time. Every single time. Pattern was nice at the bottom though, but it's over now, so don't be buying into Nvidia. PayPal. I like PayPal. PayPal's been a good money indicator for many, many years as to the flow of capital. I've said this many, many times. It's already basically carried out what Cardano is going to do. That's what they do. Look, these little cheeky double bottoms on the stuff that they know nobody's looking at, but it actually sets the tone because there's sort of a correlation. It's like if they know no one's looking at it, such that they can do the easy patterns, they set the tone of the market, and that's kind of their splash pool. It's like to see what they can do, what liquidity is going to be needed to do X, Y, and Z. So that's already kind of double bottomed. This bleed back shouldn't really be there, but this is a pretty good buy, and I think that's what Cardano is going to do. That's what all major crypto is going to do, I think. But as always, PayPal one step ahead, kind of showing the flow of capital. It did the same pattern as Ethereum. Same pattern as Ethereum. Just in advance, tipped off the money flow. And now it's bottomed in the same way in advance that I think crypto is going to do too. And, we should see PayPal start to get marked up. And then in a couple of months, Jim Cramer will be out talking about how good PayPal is when it'll be up here when they're trying to distribute on it once again. No one's talking about it now when it's likely to make a fairly significant markup for stocks anyway. I don't really fancy trading PayPal stock and getting like 3x. I think we can do better than that with what we're working with here. Moving on, Tesla. What can you say? Tesla's very predictable. It's probably in the reaccumulation structure for continued markup. So Tesla's probably a buy in this range, not precluding kind of coming back down to 162 level. But the margins are so small. What's the point of trading Tesla? Like it is very predictable. This was an obvious distribution. Called it the whole way. Check Twitter. This markdown didn't really go as far as thought, but that could be seen to be like a distribution floor. So we should get some play in this range, but ultimately, I'm not retracting my statement that I think Tesla as a company is likely finished, and this is just the end of the cycle for Elon and for them, and this will just be a big distribution to milk as much of the money as they can out of the company before it ultimately goes to zero, because that's just what the chart says, and I think any fundamental read on that as well would kind of add support to that theory. So that's Tesla. BRKB, and that's the money flow indicator. All good there. I'm not going to go through anything else. I'll go down to crypto stocks. Do the banks, actually. DGS up here. Reasonable. Bank of China looking healthy. Jesse liked that one too. Line of least resistance. Send it. Good for China. See, that's what I feel like the Russell's doing, which is not nice, because that was a redistribution. So Bank of America breaking down, a similar pattern to where the Russell is now, currently. Boring. German is stimulus input. A funny chart. Boring. Stimulus input. Boring, but not bleeding. So I think the world economy is probably okay for a while. Our Ponzi games can continue. check through the China's individual stocks. China Merchants Bank. See that double that kind of similar retest that we're looking for here. Big move and then a retest down when they trap everyone thinking it's going to continue up. When it they shake it out once they hit the liquidity, bring it back down. That would be the 18K area for Bitcoin, and then it'll move up afterwards. So tracking China stocks as always to kind of get a sentiment or a view of the liquidity flows, and the sentiment in Asia can indicate when the new cycles are going to begin in the West. So accumulation in Asia is usually distribution in the West, and vice versa. Nice little reaccumulation structure there. What can you say? Unreal. Very good. Right. Do crypto stocks getting hammered today? Oh my goodness. That's why I take P's, take profits. But better to view these on the daily. Looks nice. They're obviously holding it for reaccumulation, so probably good buy there for Argo. Bitfarms didn't get the memo. Fact is just, I mean, they have probably put in they've put in a double bottom there, but it's just such a nasty chart that like I don't trust it. I don't trust it. But this is probably the double bottom at like $1.10 to retest this liquidity, but it just looks like a horrible chart, and I don't really want to buy that. That's what I'm talking about. That's the cheeky double bottoms that they can do, like under the first initial accumulation, double bottom it. They'll move it into this range first, retest the floor, and then they'll go for the liquidity up here at 7 or 8. But you could throw a couple of percent at this, but realistically, I don't like that chart at all. It's like mostly down. So you're basically saying I'm picking the macro bottom. It is a convincing looking chart though, and no one's looking at this. Who's trading backed holdings? Come on now. Moving on. Bit Digital into resistance again. Perfect place to trap retail. Like this is absolutely perfect. Even I want to buy here. You know what I mean? This is the perfect place to trap retail. Get them long, squiggly sideways for a week, and then bring it back in, and then you moon it on them. Uh, you know, even I want to buy here. So no, not yet, sir. Not yet, Mr. Market Maker. You will wait for my bid. Same story, different ticker. Coin looks like shit though. I mean, it's obviously it's clearly doing the same thing, but like, what the fuck? Like, where's the order? Like, who is the market maker here? Like, clearly they're doing the same thing. Probably going to retest around $46 to $50, and then moon back to like 200. But who's the market maker here? This chart's a joke. This chart's a joke. Get control of your market, please. It is a joke. It is horrible. Like, what is this? It is so disorderly. So disorderly. What is going on? Is there factions like fighting for the price of coin? Potentially, but what a mess. Anyway, Core Scientific didn't get the memo either. Just going to continue going for it because who the hell's looking at this chart? Uh, it's actually probably worth a little bit of an allocation there because no one is looking at this chart. Messy infighting at the bottom. Clear order has been found. Poke of the low. Poke of the low. Excuse me. Volume is absolutely non-existent though. Let's get that volume out of the way so we can. Yeah, there's not really been that much volume, but realistically, the chart pattern is the chart pattern. So interesting looking one. eBang, very similar to Cardano Bitcoin chart, just a little stop under back in the range. That's probably a buy also, but the liquidity, the distance liquidity is quite. I mean, most immediate liquidity is 14. A lot there to get through. I don't know. There's not much for them to go back down for. That would be one that I would probably think might defy the market average and just continue going. GBDC, what can you say? What can you say? Forced buyer here, forced buyer here. Just saying, um, you know, was a buyer of GBTC um, through no desire of my own when I was rugged on FTX. Put it everything into GBTC on the 10th and 11th of November, uh, plus 100% since. Although obviously I did pay quite a premium. I was yeah, so not plus 100 for my claim, but uh, turns out FTX and all the GBTC, Genesis, FUD, obvious bullshit, obvious bottom FUD. Barry Silbert is invincible when you know who he is, where he came from, and who's funding his operations. Invincible. And that's why this channel will never be popular. There you go. That's how you do it. That's what they do when they know no one's looking. Look at that cheeky little bang, 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 and then just the shortest little dainty little cutie accumulation, and then fucking mammoth, plus 100%. When you are all complaining, oh, what about the twins? There, what are they thinking? Oh, what about Genesis? It's like fucking hell. Know a psyop when you see one, please, please. It gets sometimes it's annoying when there's such an obvious psyop supported by obvious data to suggest that there's all intentions for there to be a psyop, and people are like, no, no, it's going to go down. It's like, well, you're just going to continue to get robbed time and time again by not actually knowing when you're trying or when people are trying to con you. Galaxy, I've always said it was nice. Obviously, they had to bottom it at that number because that's just who they are as people. But it looks very nice. I can't trade it anywhere, unfortunately. It's on Toronto Stock Exchange, but it's a fucking lovely little chart, lovely little asset too. And no one looks at it. Just like all these crypto stocks, no one's actually paying attention. Similar little bottoming structure, probably less strong because it still hasn't reclaimed here. So really, what you'd want is kind of wait for them to prove what it is and then buy here, buy the retest after they've proved what it is. Because here it could do anything. Here could be a redistribution. Like we're basically under resistance. So it could continue to bleed. So you're less sure of the purchase there. So you're paying a higher price for the security of knowing that this pattern is what you thought it was. So that's but the obvious retest of liquidity is pretty obvious there, where everything's been retesting, where everything always retests because that's where the last point of money committal is on the wrong side of the market. Um, so these are good opportunities out there, basically all around. There's 300, 400% moves going to happen in a lot of crypto and related assets. Just continue to go down the list. Very similar to Mara, uh, but not as nice of a structure because yeah, there's some resistance there, 100%er, but you're basically middle of the range. There's liquidity here, there's liquidity here. I'm not a mind reader. I don't know which one it's going to go to first, so won't get involved in the middle of the range for Hive. Similar for Hut, Marathon, similar enough. Probably retest 14 for breaking down probably to the middle of the range, maybe even the bottom of the range, depending how bad it is. Master, MSTR, of course, going to do the same thing, but obviously the stock price there is pretty high, so the markups to where the liquidity is pretty close, so the percentage is not as good. Riot, same thing. Didn't get the memo. Doesn't really look like it's going to be coming back. Kind of the liquidity that would stop it is probably up about here. So Riot's going to go pretty nicely. Again, same structure. While everyone was debating about how low we were going to go, the market maker took everything from you. Everything. Look at that. November, December 2021. Let's just go into major crypto to prove the point that when everyone was terrified, getting liquidated, when I was getting rugged, the market maker came and took your coins. That's going to do it. 35 minutes of chatting. Is there anything else to look at? Let me just look at the bonds. Looking good for what I called. top of the bond market. Fed, someone got the memo. Fed's gonna stop raising 6 months out. When was that? October, November. So not too far, not too long to wait now. But it's ironic because the markets will probably sell off on that news because that's how perverse the market makers are, or how perverse they need to be. So that's probably going to do it. Just a quick look at some commodities that have really all started to retrace their COVID pumps, which is quite interesting for inflation. Which means that the Fed probably can eventually begin to taper or not raise. Natural gas gone all the way back down to pre-COVID level just before the money printing. Again, another cheeky bottom because who's watching the natural gas chart? Uh, what sort of sickos are watching natural gas as a 2 year leading indicator of money flow? Not me. Gas gonna go down most likely. Obviously, everything I say is a balance of probabilities assessment. Why does a copper chart look like the Russell? What's going on? Why is that the same thing? Anyway, you get the point. Markets are all fake. They all are a mechanism to absorb this and nothing else. They all absorb this in different ways, and when they get less of this, they have less of it to absorb. They change the cycle and uh, begin again, all determined by artificial, fake interest rate policy. That's the markets. You're welcome. Enjoy.